Hi everyone. So last night was a bit of a roller coaster. Because I had two fever dreams. Well, technically I had three, but two real ones. I had three. The third one was inside of a fever dream. So technically I had a fever dream inside a fever dream. Then I woke up from that dream, both dreams. I went downstairs to get something to eat. Came back to sleep. I had a third one. So it was a bit of a night, I'd say. So yeah, still kind of scary to think about. I've got a bit of a dry throat right now, so I'll probably be drinking some lemonade all throughout the live stream. But these dreams are really vague now. I wrote them down as soon as I woke up, but they're getting more and more vague by the second. So I have to really think about them when I'm talking about them. So the first dream that I had, which I'm not sure what order it went in, I think I'm going to try and make it into an order if that makes sense, because it sort of makes more sense. But to be completely honest, I have no idea in what sort of order it went in. Anyway, so the fever dream that I had inside the fever dream was inside the first dream that I had when I first went to sleep, and that fever dream inside the fever dream, if that makes sense, was where I was what was it now? I completely forgot. It's just completely. As soon as I said that, it's just escaped my mind. Oh yeah. I remember now. It was where I was. It was like I was a screen recorder on Google Maps, and I was only seeing the screen, if that makes sense. And I was I think it was this forested area, like this really sort of blurry, weird, vague, sort of spooky forested area. And I sort of typed something in the Google search bar. I'm not sure what it was, but the number 20 had something to do with it. So number 20 was a big part of it for some reason. But so as soon as I typed that in, by the way, another part of this dream, my old friend was also in the dream, because I remember saying her name or thinking her name or seeing her in the dream, but even though I didn't, if it makes sense, it's really weird. But anyway, so as soon as I typed something into the Google Maps, it was like I was on a roller coaster, like I was either suddenly dropping, or I was on a roller coaster and I was just being like, the G-forces, you know, when your stomach goes all churny and like, you have to like, just do that because, you know, it's just like the overwhelming sense of just falling or whatever, or just being on a roller coaster, and the G-forces. So I felt that, and it was like I was being, as well as being lifted up from the ground, I was sort of being moved. So basically I was like an aeroplane, like I was just doing like, as I was going up, I was also going sort of that way, so I was sort of going like a sort of a slight line like that, like a slight upwards line in the sky. And I was doing that, and it was getting faster and faster by the second, until all the world and stuff, which was basically an entire forest, I think, was just basically being zoomed around like that. I was just being like taken around the entire planet, and in a few seconds, I was back to where I was. I'm like, oh my god, that was what the hell? And the wind in my face, it was cold, it was painful. It felt like it was raining because it was sort of like the sharp pricks on my skin, like it was raining. It was just freezing cold. So I remember that. That wasn't very nice. And I ended up, I didn't learn my lesson, so what I did, I just typed into the Google Maps again, the same thing or a similar thing, something with the number 20 to do with it or whatever, and same thing happened again. I think that was the last time it happened, but it might have happened a third time, I can't remember. It's really vague. But I think they'll come to me once I start talking about it, which it usually does, but that's the fever dream inside the fever dream. Then I woke up, and I think what happened next was I woke up. I was in my old house, in our old house we moved out of about a year ago now, 11 months ago, a year ago, and I was literally just sort of laying on my mum's bed, like just sort of looking up at the ceiling or whatever, and I think I was in third person view, and I was sort of looking, and I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. What's going on? And the next thing I remember not seeing was we were inside that sort of in front of the house, in broad daylight, and me, my mum, and my sister, and I think maybe someone else as well was there. Maybe my dad. I can't remember now. They were there, and we were sort of. I think it was. I'm gonna say it was my mum, me, and my sister, because they're the only three people I know that were there. Anyway. So, and my mum was sort of talking about to us two, me and my sister, about like we've got new cars and stuff, and we've got like a driver's license, and we can get a driver's license, or sort of just talking in general about driver's license. So that's what I was. That's what I remember. It was definitely about driver's license, and then I remember seeing this red Producer Calacia, which was a type of car. I think it might have been also a Lancia Yultsin because they're sort of similar sort of look to them. It was really vague, but it was one of those two cars. I think it was a Producer Calacia though, but it was like a faded sort of blotchy paint, red paint, I think it was. And I looked at the car and it had these 5-spoke Holford hubcaps on. Well, that was a few years ago, the removable clips. And it had one, the back right one was missing. And I thought to myself when I saw the car, the back left one should be missing. So what I thought to do was take the back left hubcap off and swap it to the back right, so the back left hubcap would be missing. I'm like, that's a bit weird. So what I did was I didn't even take the hubcap off. I just went round to where the hubcap was missing, and put a metal ring, outer ring, on the edge of around the wheel and like on the wheel, and then that was weird. And then the next thing I remember seeing was this 4-spoke alloy that like, my wheels had sort of somehow turned into like a 4-spoke alloys that had these massive centre caps. So I'm sort of looking at these, like the centre cap that's in my hand, and I'm sort of trying to I put the badge on and sort of line it up with the spokes and stuff and the design with the hubcap, and then also as well as that, after I do that, what I'm trying to do is I'm lining up the centre cap so I can put it on the car, on the wheel. And when I do that, I don't know what happens next, but that's one part of the dream I can remember. The next part of the dream I can remember is I'm at my local petrol station, gas station, and even though it looks almost nothing like in real life, it was definitely, at the same time, it strongly resembled that place, if that makes sense, because your dreams are weird, but that's what I was seeing. And there's this back part of the thing which is forest area, and I was sort of there, and there was this really weird, it was a weird layout, because it was a forest area. It was sort of a mix between my old primary school forest area which I used to play in years ago, and it was sort of like a mix between that and that sort of area which I just told you about in the gas station, petrol station. So I was really confused, and I remember there was this like it was. Do you know when you're like your eyes? It's sort of like this like weird filter, like this black and white filter, this sort of like black, sort of faded thing around the borders of it. That's what it was sort of like, because you couldn't really make out a lot of stuff. And I could see that I was looking at this tree. I must have been like laying down like that on the floor, and sort of looking at the tree or whatever, because I was really close to the ground. And I was looking at this tree, and it sort of was between it was sort of a mix between a pine tree, a weeping willow, and like an oak tree, if it makes sense, because the pine trees are everywhere, and the pine trees are actually on the tree itself, and there were pine trees sort of scattered across the flat ground, and like brown dead things like that. And it was between like a weeping willow because of, the branches sort of drooping down, but it was also sort of, it resembled strongly about an oak tree as well, or whatever, or some sort of other tree, because there was these massive branches that were sort of spoking off in like different directions that were like really easy to sort of climb, and they were sort of evenly sort of spaced out. I'm trying to recall this, it's giving me a headache. Because that's what I was seeing. And I was in two locations at once at this point, I think. I was sort of looking by the back of this thing, sort of looking at the back of where the road was and the gas station is, while at the same time being in the middle of a forest area in my, like, sort of, that strongly resembled my childhood area which I used to play with at school, in my primary school. And I was basically at two locations at once, that makes sense. And I was sort of with someone else, I have no idea who they were, but I knew that I know them really well. So I'm guessing maybe my mum or some sort of other family member or friend. But they were there. I was on another branch, and then there was some guy with a chainsaw that was below me a few feet. My feet were dangling. I was sort of sitting on a massive branch on the tree, maybe 7-8 feet below the ground, like from the ground. And there's this guy with a chainsaw that had I think a mask and the chainsaw was really weird in my dream. I can remember it really clearly, so I'm going to talk about that in a sec. But what happened was this guy was sort of swinging this chainsaw around, like with both hands. I'm just holding the camera so I can't do it with both hands, but he was sort of swinging it around like that. And it was sort of like it was like inches from my feet. So I was getting scared. So what I did was I said to this person, I think, or I thought to this person in my head, we need to climb up now, so otherwise we'll die. But because this guy was really getting closer to me, and because he was right below me, and it was getting closer and closer by each second. So what I tried to do was I tried to climb up, and as I was climbing, or as I was thinking about climbing, I had a thought in my head, or I talked to this person that was near me, and I said, what happens if we get to the top of the tree, or we climb the tree even further, and this guy either starts to chop it down, or he starts to climb the tree, and then we're reft, because obviously we can't get down from a tree if he's climbing it, and he's going to get us. So what's going to happen then? Then I had a weird thought. Maybe we can just jump down. Once you get to the top of the tree, we're not going to get out of this situation, so what we're going to do, get to the top of the tree and jump to our death, because that's obviously very logical to do. But no, that's what I was thinking, and I was sort of contemplating what to do. I need a drink. So I was contemplating what to do, and I remember as soon as I started climbing the tree, I started sort of falling. But I don't remember falling, I just kind of felt the feeling of falling as I was on the ground though. As I was already on the ground, off the bottom of the tree, like I'd just fallen, but I felt like I was falling as I was on the ground, if that makes sense. And this guy was with the chainsaw was sort of walking up to me, and I was sort of just looking at the tree into the sky, with this guy coming towards me in my peripheral vision, and I was just like, oh my god. And I started kicking at this person to sort of get some distance between them so he'd leave me alone. But at the same time, as I was doing this, I had like a thought, or some sort of maybe flashback, like what happens, this visual thought, like what happens if this guy swings as I'm trying to kick at this guy to leave me alone so I can get enough time to actually get up and run away. What happens if he swings the chainsaw and it cuts my leg off, or it hurts me? And at the same time I was thinking this, I get this overwhelming like feeling of like pain in my legs, or my abdomen, or body, or my head, or whatever, I can't remember now, maybe all over, I can't remember. But I got this overwhelming sense of pain, like this weird dream pain you get, you know, like weird like prickling, weird sort of burning, prickling pain. It was really weird to describe, but that's what I was feeling. And even though this guy was still kicking it, even though I was still kicking this guy, even though I had both my legs fine, I was still feeling this pain as well as also being in a split reality, and thinking of myself visually as having my leg chopped off or whatever in this pain. So it was really weird to describe. But that's what I can remember from that. There's so many parts of the dream I know I'm forgetting, but I can't remember now. But that's what I can think of, that's what I can remember. But yeah, it's really weird. It's really... And then I think I woke up at that point, or there was something that happened in between, like after that I remember. And I think whatever happened next, I don't know. But there was another part of the dream. I'm not sure if it was the first dream I had or the second dream I had. But that was inside the dream. If it makes sense. And the second dream I had, the first dream that I had. So I woke up from that dream inside the dream. So I was still dreaming, but I woke up in a hot or cold sweat in my dream. So I had a fever dream inside a fever dream, if it makes sense. And I remember feeling really weird. So I remember, I'm getting confused with these details, but we're just going to go with it anyway. So I think the next part of the dream was that I was I was back at in my mum's house, in my mum's bed, as in like sort of kneeling on my mum's old like bed, sort of looking at the pillows and stuff, sort of on my knees, and I remember just sort of coughing out this big ball of like snot and like blood and stuff. It was really weird. It was like a pinky weird colour. It was horrible. But that was all on the sheets and stuff. And I was like, I don't feel well. And I was like, something was really wrong, because it was like it looked like my house, but at the same time, it was a hospital. It's very weird to describe, but that's what I was seeing. And I remember having this thought, like, if I don't get out of here now, then I'm gonna die, or something along those lines. So I ended up climbing out the window, and then basically how the house is set out is there's a next door's house garage is sort of pressed up against that bedroom window, So technically, you could just, if you wanted to, you could just walk on the roof of their garage, next door's garage. After climbing out that window, you can just jump down to the floor into their driveway, and you're outside. So that's what I tried to do. But as I was climbing out the window, they said something along the lines of, I can't remember what they said now, but it's so vivid but so vague. They said something along the lines of, don't know, but they said something like, can't remember. I'm trying to remember, but it's not. Anyway, so they said something, and it made sense. It made so much sense, but at the same time, it never did. It's so hard to describe. So I was on this weird like area of this like roof. Even though there's a piece of plastic that sort of separates like the foot of space between our house and their garage, it was not there. It was like a weird mix match. But I was going down there. I remember falling to the floor, sort of jumping down from the floor. And when I did that, what happened next? I think I might have woken up. I can't remember. Oh, I'm missing out a detail. Actually, when I was half jumping out the window, I remember coughing, and this massive ball of like snot, like that big, just came out and just like everywhere. I don't know why I forgot that, because that was the most vivid thing I can remember from that entire thing. But anyway, ow, my neck. So that's what I can remember. It's very vivid. It's very vague now. I can't really remember it too much, but I hope I haven't bored you too much on me talking about this. But anyways, actually I forgot the second dream. So that was the first dream that I had before I woke up in real life. So that I just told you the dream inside the dream that I had and that dream. So I woke up in real life in a hot sweat. I was sticking to the mattress. I was just all hyperventilating. I was like, oh god, what just happened? Like, oh my god, I'm alive now. And I woke up and I felt so heavy. As in, I felt like I was just like that. I was just like a doll, if that makes sense. As in, I was just sort of, my feet were just like thumping on the ground, like I was just like dead weight. And I remember like, what's wrong with me? I feel weird. And the most I can sort of describe was I was sort of walking like this. If I can, I was like, I was sort of like that. If that makes sense. I was sort of like really, like my feet were like very exaggerated, sort of like thumped on the ground because my legs were just so heavy. And I remember going. That was about 4:30 in the morning. I think it was like 4:32 or something like that. It was definitely over 4:30. And because I remember doing a story about it on my Instagram, as in like typing it out and stuff. But I deleted that now because I had to rewrite it. But still. So after I got back to bed, I went back to bed. This time I slept on top of the bed. I didn't really get into the bed. I just kind of slept on top, and I ended up going to sleep. And then this dream is very, very horrible. Since there's some new medication that I've been on for the past couple of weeks now, and since then I've been having really weird side effects. As in, when I say it's weird, as in, I always have weird thoughts, or I have extremely weird, vivid, but also extremely vague dreams at the same time. It's really weird. As in, like, they're so vivid but so vague, and to the point they're non-existent. Sort of in between the two. But it's never mind. So that's what it was. Anyways, I ended up. I remember walking to this. It's actually. Do you know what? That's the fan, by the way. But look, this area I'm talking about takes place in that forest area down there, as well as the forest area on the other side of the road, because the road where we are, that's one side of the road, our house is on one side of the road, including that forest, and there's a forest on the other side of the road as well, near, almost opposite our house. And it was sort of like, there was 4 or 5 locations in both those forest areas that sort of merged into one forest area. And it was very vivid. It's very vivid. I remember. This is the part that's really vivid. I remember the layout perfectly, almost perfectly. It's so vivid, and I remember like these weeping willow sort of branches, like going down at about head height, so about maybe like 7-8 feet tall, and like drooping down around like over the path, and these trees were hooping over my head. So I remember walking like to the edge of this, from the edge of this field, walking. There's like this fence that was bordering like one field and another field, but also like these same things. It was sort of like thirds. I was sort of like in the middle of a. If you draw a circle, for example, I'll try and demonstrate because it's really hard to explain. But for example, something along the lines of if there was a circle, so it was like part of a field that I was in. So I was around about here on the field. Then there was like this, where there was like fence. These are like fence areas across here. I'm sprawling another field. Me. Then there was like this weird sort of spiralling area like this that sort of went across here. This is all like forest area that I never even explored, but still, it was still part of the dream. And I was sort of going across here. And we were going through here, weeping willow trees going around here, sort of like weird branches. It was sort of more like a snake, sort of like that. And it was just really weird because it was just never made any sense. Basically, it was a straight path, but while at the same time being like all like that. And I remember walking down there, and these weird sort of wind chimes, because I was sort of stepping over like branches that were about knee height and stuff. And there was this weird ornaments that were sort of hanging down. So I sort of snapped them off the tree. I was looking at them like, this is weird voodoo stuff. That's really weird. And I remember hearing this like. It was either me saying it, me thinking it, or a narrator saying it in my head. I can't remember, but it was said something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, look at this. There's someone who's approaching you. You can see their feet. You better run." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm running." So I see them. I see their feet. It's sort of like a shadow, and because there's this weeping willow tree covering basically from their knees upwards, I could just see their feet, as shadows. So I remember running, and as I got to this area. Hold on. Where's my pen? As I got to this area here, so it happened around about somewhere here, deep in the forest area. But as I got to around about here, sort of like cross junction area, I remember seeing this. So I think I remember this person. It was a homeless guy pushing up against here, and he stank of everything you can imagine of. Everything. It was absolutely disgusting. It kind of made me feel sick. I can sort of still kind of smell. Even though it's not, even like right now I can. And I remember him saying something to me, and then all of a sudden, me being outside our kitchen, which is our house right now, which is directly below us. So right now I'm talking about what happened in my dream that happened directly below me. And there's this like staircase outside that sort of in our back garden, and it sort of goes down to the it's concrete, and it goes down to the concrete garden area. And my sister was there, my mum was there. I think my mum was in the house, about the doorway, and I was somewhere. I think I was at the floor just below the stairs, but at the same time I was also on the stairs. And there's this guy who tried to lunge at my sister, and he stabbed her. And I remember, he lunged at my sister and stabbed her. I remember lunging at him. I remember getting a knife in the arm, like in the shoulder, like straight through the thing. I remember looking at him, and I was like, no. So that's just bad acting, but that's what I was like. Okay, you are asked to die. And I remember looking at him, and then just as he appeared, he went and he was gone. And I had this knife sticking out my arm, even though it wasn't there anymore. It was just like a gaping hole in my arm. I remember looking at my sister, and she was like, "Oh, that's fine. It's just punctured my lung." And I'm like, "Are you okay? This is really weird." And this dream started getting really, really weird. Like, as in, sort of like a weird, like a shrooms trip, because everything was going all blotchy and weird. I remember sort of seeing my sister, and it had like a knife in her chest, and I'm like, "Are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I don't know what happened next, but I started crying. I was suddenly at the top of the stairs, I think, of the outside, but I was at the top of the outside stairs, concrete stairs, crying because I remember saying like, "Oh, like my dog's just died" or whatever. No, actually no. Forget that part where the dog died and I started crying. Something happened in between then. So after I remember being at the top of the stairs and my sister being weird and I was being sort of blotchy and weird vision, I remember having an iPad that was at 1%. And I remember dialing 999 or 911, I can't remember now, some sort of like emergency number. And I remember, just as the operator picked up, I hung up, and my sister asked what was wrong, and I was like, "Oh, the iPad just died," even though it was still at 1%. But anyway, I ended up getting the phone out, and presumably it was my phone. Got my phone out and started dialing the same number. person picked up. I'm not sure if it was the same person or not, but they picked up. And I was at the top of the stairs all of a sudden. And I remember crying all of a sudden. Because I was just screaming like, my dog's just died. The dog's dead. And I remember looking down over this like metal barrier stuff that we got on the side of the house, which is sort of bordering the greenhouse. And I remember sort of in between the greenhouse and the stairs, even though there's no gap in real life, there was a bit of a gap, about a foot or two gap. And there was a dog here, and just say that there's no hope that they would have been alive. Very vivid vision. I don't really want to. I think the more gory stuff is the more vivid stuff I remember, but my dreams are messed up now, so I can't really be too surprised. But anyway, so I remember this thing. I think it was a pug or something. I don't remember, but it was like a small dog, and I remember this dog. I was like screaming like, "This dog's dead! This dog's dead! My dog's dead!" And I remember just having this. It's exactly what it felt like to having a real life panic attack or anxiety attack or meltdown in real life. It was sort of like a merge between the three and like amplified by 10. And it was just so overwhelming that I ended up waking up in real life. I ended up waking up from the dream, and a hot and cold sweat at the same time, because it was like I was like hot but I was freezing at the same time. And I remember sticking to the sheets. This time I was inside my bed, as in when I went to sleep I was on top. When I woke up I was underneath, which is really weird. But I must have just like sleepwalked or whatever. But I remember waking up in this cold sweat, having like an almost panic attack, like I was in my dream. I was hyperventilating, I had a stonking headache. I've got a massive headache now. I've got a bad throat because I've been talking for so long, and I just had to stay there for about half an hour. I just had to sit on the edge of my bed for half an hour, or whatever, and just kind of thinking about everything that I just dreamt about. Like, absolutely everything. Because not everything made sense, but at the same time nothing does, and that's still true right now. Like, everything makes sense, but at the same time nothing does. I can actually pinpoint, in most cases that I can remember dreaming, most of my dreams I can actually pinpoint the real life events that actually happened for me to actually dream up the dreams. For example, like the locations or the very subtle parts of my day that I can remember that could have contributed to the part of the dream that I had, and that's always vivid for me. I remember the reason why I jumped off the dead dog. I remember the reason why, because someone's dog died. I know, so I'm guessing that's very recently. I'm guessing that's why in the past 2 or 3 days they've died. So that's probably why the dog was there. The locations are very obvious for me. Some of the locations were sort of warped or very sort of like mismatched, or they weren't even the same. But I know exactly the location they were in, even though they resembled nothing like them. Or they're sort of like a mismatch of each one. So yeah. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening to me ramble for like half an hour. So, hope you enjoyed. Bye guys.